Okay, now
Jeremiah,
we're
I got to
back
tell
on.
you, you got a badass radio voice, man.
Okay, so all
You
right,
got
so
a
we're
really
technically
sexy radio
recording.
voice, man.
Oh, tell me more. No, we're recording. So here's the thing.
Oh, sorry.
So I don't care. Patreon, you're gonna have to deal with it for a few minutes. But okay, so here's the thing. I used to work at Apple as a genius in Des Moines because I live in Des Moines. Literally every week, a customer would say like, "Have I heard you somewhere before? Are you on the radio? You have a really good radio voice. Maybe you should do that." I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just fixing computers." And then I got really bored during pandemic, and I was like, "I like Bigfoot and cryptozoology. Let's start a podcast." And like, it's kind of worked. So
That's the next thing that happened. Yeah.
thank
Okay.
you, thank
No,
you. That
no, you got a
that's
really
really
good
nice.
man.
Yeah. So what cool stories? More cool stories because you've already shared a lot of cool stories. But what other cool stories do you have?
Um, well, it's kind of on the next project.
Okay.
It's the Thompson Flat Monster.
Mm,
Um, it is very long and complicated.
mm,
And the thing is that with Ape Canyon, the miners were up there for basically only, let's see, they started prospecting in 1918 and then they split in 1924. And so that was about, what is that, about 6 years that the miners were up there
okay.
in Ape
Yep.
Canyon.
Yep.
I've been on that project now for like about twice that time, say
Wow.
about 12 years ish or so. The Thompson Flat Monster took place over the course of 30 years down in Southwest Oregon on the South Fork of the Sixes River.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to finish the research on the Thompson Flat Monster before I'm dead, given
Oh
that
man.
time that it
Yeah.
takes
Yeah. Yeah.
place.
Yeah. Right.
Uh,
Wow.
but what ended up happening up there, they called it the Gold Rush of Southwest Oregon. And in
Mm,
1974, there was this fellow named Tom, and Tom was up there prospecting just south of the river on Star Mountain. And he was up there just with his dog, and he was just small pick mining up there looking for gold. And he found it. But while he was finding it, something came up from behind Tom and picked him up bodily off the ground. He's
whoa.
down, crouched over, blah, 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 and something bodily picked him off of the ground, throttled him, threw him down a little 30-foot bluff.
Whoa.
And Tom later said that it was just split second timing. All I could see was that it was an incredibly large creature covered
Mm.
with hair that was
Oh
able
man.
just to like throttle the crap out of him and throw him down a bluff. And Tom was smart and he told his friends that I'm going up to Star Mountain up on South Fork of the Sixth River,
Okay.
and I'll be back 2 or 3 days. Okay, no Tom.
Mm.
So his friends go up there and poking around, like, where is he? And they find him unconscious at the base of the mountain. They pull him in a little bit of a makeshift stretcher, get him back into town, and nurse him back to health. While Tom
Wow.
is recovering, um, one of his friends has picked up his stuff, his rifle and his bag, and he said he looked in his bag and he pulled out this huge hunk of quartz. And on the end of the hunk of quartz was the biggest gold nugget that he had ever seen in his life.
No way.
That's what started what they now call, sort of the Sutter's Mill of Oregon, the gold rush.
Okay.
And it's like, crap,
Wow.
there's gold up there and up on the South Fork of the Sixes River. And a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
people start rushing up there to start. At first, their load claims where they're actually tunneling into the side of the rock. Later, it turns into placer claims because it's easier to do placer claims than digging your way into hard rock.
Okay.
But a bunch of people start going up there to lay down their placer claims. Also concurrent with that are a bunch of published reports in the newspapers where it's not, I mean, some of them are pretty banal, what one would call just a passive Sasquatch sighting,
Okay.
of this creature down by the creek bed, 6 or 7 feet tall, covered entirely with hair, seeing large prints in the creek beds and everything. um, some of them not so passive. One of the first accounts, Tom ended up getting back to health. He prospects a little bit more, lays down a couple of claims down there on the Sixes River, and then he just disappears. A couple of people also that you can read in some of John Green's books as
Oh,
well.
nice.
A couple of people bought one of his claims. They're coming back from their claim where they had set up camp with, a camp with tents and everything. They come up this hill, and there is this big bruiser, big creature tearing the crap out of everything in their camp, tearing up their tent, tearing up everything, and throwing it down the hill.
Whoa,
And they
crazy.
take a few shots of the creature, and doesn't really do anything. They turn around and get back to town,
Oh
and
man.
within a matter of weeks, sell their claim. So they sell their claim. Well, by that point, this area is called Thompson Flat. It's a very small, limited area. It's
Okay.
on the north side of the South Fork of the Sixes River. It's maybe about half a mile long and about a quarter mile wide north to south. It's incredibly steep. This is not volcano
Hmm.
country. This is more granite and marble uplift. It's more like mini Rockies, sort of.
Oh
It's
wow.
very, very steep, but this is just a very limited, small flat area. People are going up there and they're laying down gold claims because there is gold up there.
Okay.
And so um, I found a newspaper article where there was a reporter who was traveling through the area and heard about a mining camp somewhere up there on the Sixes River, and he visited it. And this article was published, oh golly, 1881, 1882, where the reporter went up there and found this small, like, tent city, some of them with cabins,
Oh.
that were built. And he mentioned there were about 40 people there. And some of the miners up there had their families with them, had wives and kids, and they were just working their individual claims and coming together in this little sort of village,
Okay.
and sharing meals and sharing stories and sharing ammo or whatever resources they had. Well, at the time when the reporter went up there, he was able to interview some of these miners and able to name names. Some of these names, like Doc Elgin, had his own Bigfoot encounters with, being scared off by this large creature. The weird thing about it is that we tend to think of Sasquatch stories of this red, brown, hair-covered creature. A
Right.
lot of the stories up there at Thompson Flat describe them as blonde or yellow-haired
Really?
creatures. Yeah, not reddish brown.
Oh.
Um,
Whoa.
so things are going along, yeah, somewhat relatively swimmingly, until there was this one day when it's nighttime and people are back in camp, and where's John? Shouldn't John be back by now? Everyone's having dinner. Oh,
Uh-oh.
could you go check his go check his cabin? They knock, they open the door, and there's nobody in there. We better go back up to his claim. We better
Oh
go up to
no.
John's claim. They go up to John's claim, and there he is, dead. And
Whoa.
his head's bashed in,
Oh man.
and laying next to his body is a rock that's bloody.
Oh man. Wow.
So that was the first one. And then this happens repeatedly 4 times again within the period of about 18 months. And the first two with John McClone, and John Jensen, they go right up to the bodies. The next one is a guy named Bullhide Johnson. He was gone for a number of days, and eventually weeks, and they find his body again, beaten to a pulp out there in the middle of
Wow.
nowhere.
Oh, that's
Well,
crazy.
at this point, people are getting freaked out
Yeah.
because there are a number of sightings. The last one was Mike Madigan. Mike was one of the first ones to go up there and start prospecting for gold. He didn't look for gold a lot, but he was mainly a huntsman, and he went out there hunting. He worked on his mine a little bit, but he went out hunting, brought the meat back in, and traded it for goods and that kind of thing. Madigan was going out in the woods hunting at Thompson Flat with his two dogs. Up on this rise, he sees this huge creature. His dogs, being hunting dogs, instinctively, one of them takes off. The creature grabs the dog and just
Whoa.
throttles him, killing him, throws
Oh
him off.
man.
Madigan takes his rifle and takes a few shots into him. The next dog takes off towards this creature. Madigan is like trying to call his dog back, throwing bullets into this creature. The creature grabs the second dog, kills the other dog. Madigan splits, turns around. So, with these recurring violent stories of this 6 to 7 foot tall, hair covered creature,
Yeah.
people have vacated Thompson Flat, and Madigan is pretty much the only person left up there. Well, Madigan comes back into town once in a while and trades goods. Week or two goes by and Madigan's not back into town.
Oh man.
His friend Ramsey is like, I'm going to go look for him. He goes up there and he's searching around Madigan's camp, and he finds this new kind of like big pile of rocks, strangely piled up, and he digs through it, and there's a body in there that's been
Whoa.
in underneath these rocks for a number of days or more.
Oh
He
man.
recognizes the body because of the sidearm, because of the revolver, and because of the
Okay.
knife, and it's like, that's Madigan's that's
Whoa.
Madigan's goods, right? So the what we have now, and after that, there was an attack on what was called the Harrison Cabin in 1904, and a few other Sasquatch sightings up there. But the weird thing about it is that right off of the west side of Thompson Flat, there is this dinky little nothing burial ground. And this is in the National Forest now. And it's like
Hmm.
2 miles from a logging road. It's out in the middle of the woods. Right off of the edge of Thompson Flat, there's a burial ground. The grave markers are mainly wood, and they're all kind of decomposed and falling
Oh
over.
man.
But what we
Whoa.
do have from the Genealogical Society is we do have the burial records in the Huckleberry Knoll Cemetery, as it's called.
Hmm.
And the funny thing is that each one, there's basically only 4 burials up there.
Okay.
Each one of the names in the Huckleberry Knoll Cemetery at Thompson Flat matches the names of the miners who were killed by unknown means at Thompson Flat, surrounding
What?
aggressive sightings of this large cryptid.
Oh. That's a little weird, man.
Sure is,
That's
ain't it?
weird.
Yeah, you bet. So,
Oh boy.
as we spoke about before, you can
Yeah.
imagine what this involves: medical examiners' records, death
Yeah.
records, mining records, deed records, anything I can get my hands on to try to put the pieces of this story
Oh
together.
man.
And then once I get something, a doc in the document evidence, taking that document evidence and going out to Thompson Flat and
Yep.
seeing, as a surveyor, I'll be able to figure out where was Jensen's claim, where was McClone's claim, where was
Oh yeah.
Madigan's claim, where was the Harrison cabin claim of where they were attacked in 1904, to try to put this story onto the ground. What evidence
That's
is
awesome.
so?
That is really cool. Oh man, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, great
That's
stuff.
cool. And
So,
that'd be like that could be another book by itself.
oh, sure, and it
Eve-
could be another 10
Maybe.
to 20
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, well, yeah. So I guess we'll see, right?
Right. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah.
I
Oh
go, I
man,
go, I go, I go for quality. I don't go for quantity. So
that's right.
as
That's
long
right.
as long as it takes, man.
Future generations will appreciate that. So
Well,
that's
they might
good.
have to take it over from me. I got to tell you.
That's a good point. Yeah. Pass on the football. Yeah. But
Right on.
oh man. Mark, thanks for giving us a little bit more. This has been really fun.
Oh, it's been great.
Um man, you're a cool dude
Oh,
who
thanks,
is
man.
also very humble, and I appreciate that. It's
No,
very
no.
cool, but yeah,
We had a great time tonight. I really appreciate you having me on
awesome.
and reaching out to me. That's a lot of fun.
Thank you. Hopefully someday I'll be able to our paths will cross and we'll have
Yes.
a glass of wine or something. That'd be awesome.
I'd like that a lot. Yeah, okay,
Awesome.
that'd be cool. Okay.